Yo, what is going on, guys? Pansy here, back with another BDO money making guide. It has been a long time since we made one of these, so it is well due an update. So here we are. I hope that whether you're a beginner player or a veteran player, you'll find some useful information in here. And we're going to break this video into 4 sections. That's going to be grinding, life skills, passive income, mostly by life skills, and Gamba. Now, one important thing to keep in mind throughout this video, guys, is there is a great deal of variability when it comes to making money in BDO. Class choice, your AP, DP, your consumables, your region, your skill level as a player, how practiced you are at a rotation, how much mastery you have for life skills. There are so many variables that go into making money in BDO. So just keep it in mind. If I say 500 mil an hour and you're not hitting that, just tweak things around, try it out, do some research, and maybe you're super correct and you make 200-300 mil more than what I estimate. I'm going to try to keep these estimations as conservative as possible because I don't want to misrepresent some of these grind spots or money making methods, but just keep it in mind, guys. Take everything with a grain of salt because there are players from various regions that are watching my video. This is going to be based on PC, so console players, my apologies, but yeah, just keep that in mind when we're going through all of these various methods. Now, before we get started, let me tell you about the sponsor of today's video. Today's video is brought to you by Raid Shadow Legends. Raid is the #1 turn-based MMORPG on the market and brings you AAA quality gameplay straight to your phone. With over 650 unique champions, hundreds of artifacts to equip, mix and match your builds to overcome any foe. But this month, Raid's got something extra special happening. They've released a new legendary champion based off MMA and pro wrestling legend, Ronda Rousey. As well as taking on dragons and ice golems with her bare fists, Ronda's backstory is pretty cool, taking some inspiration from her background in combat sports. Born to a minor bannerlord, Ronda trained hard to become a formidable warrior. During a tournament, Ronda's true potential as a fighter became obvious as she took on 4 knights barehanded. Eventually, she would make her way to the arena city of Valazar, kicking ass and taking names until she became the queen of the arena. To celebrate Ronda's arrival in Raid, use the special promo code RAIDRONDA to get a bunch of awesome loot, perfect for leveling up Ronda so she's at the top of her game. And this month, Raid's got a massive new content update with tons of new features, including a brand new dungeon and the introduction of Artifact Ascension. Battle through the Sand Devil's Necropolis and earn the precious oil needed to take your artifacts to the next level. And additionally, there are a bunch of new champions being added to the mix as well, including some really cool holiday champions for those looking to get into the festive spirit. You can get Ronda for free right now whether you're a new or a long-time player just by logging into Raid. All you have to do is log in and play Raid for 7 days between now and February 28th and Ronda's yours. Also, if you're an Amazon Prime member, be sure to claim your exclusive Raid rewards right now. But there's more. New players, use my link or scan the QR code on screen and get a free starter pack worth almost $30. This includes a free champion Vergis and cool in-game loot. You'll find your rewards in your inbox for the next 30 days only. So be sure to check out Raid Shadow Legends. The link will be in the description down below. Alright folks, let's start out with section 1, that is grinding. Grinding is the simplest way to make money in BDO, and it's the most common way players tend to make cash. This is what you do from the very beginning of the game all the way into late game, and it is a really good way to make money. They buffed it consistently over the years, and it is the best way to make money at the high end. Now, it does take a lot more effort, but that's what makes the game fun. It's fun playing your class, using different classes, going to different grind spots. That's what the game's all about, right? So, if you want to get started on this journey, you would want to get full Pentavala gear. Now, if you don't have full Pentavala gear, you want to play through seasonal servers and you want to progress your gear, learn the game, learn the basics of the game, get the ins and outs down, and then you can get started with the grind. So if you don't have full Pentavala, then you'd want to start off at Polyforest. This is a great place to start grinding at like around 150 AP. You'd be pretty comfortably grinding here, and you can expect a solid 100 to 200 mil an hour as a new player here. And you can take it all the way to level 60 at least, and this is just an overall great spot to get started with. But once you're 200 AP or higher, I would recommend going to Valencia. So there's 2 spots in Valencia specifically I'd like to name, that is Sulphur Mines and Pilaku Jail. Both of these spots are excellent grind spots. I love these spots for my seasonal characters. I generally start here at 200 AP, and you should be able to comfortably start one-shotting the mobs here. Once you're able to one-shot the mobs, that's when you can efficiently grind here. With the blue loot scroll and Agris, you can expect anywhere from 300 mil to 400 mil an hour consistently. And once you're a bit more advanced and you're tryharding, you can make more money. But overall, this place isn't the best money-making spot with Tuvala gear. There is one spot which is legendary in the current state of the game. That is Centaurs. So once you're at full Tuvala gear, I recommend coming over to Centaurs, and this is the best money-making spot for a very long time. I know some people are like, I don't want to go to any other spot because it feels like I'm wasting my time because Centaurs makes more money. I know. You don't have to stay at Centaurs all the way till like 300 AP or something. Guys, don't worry. There are different places you can grind, but Centaurs is excellent. Once you're at full Tuvala gear, if you're using the right class and if you're going with a blue loot scroll and Agris, you make a solid amount of money. So let's say you're only using a blue loot scroll, I think you can consistently make around 400 mil plus an hour. If you're using a blue loot scroll plus Agris and you're playing the top classes, that is like Zerker, Awakened Musa, and Awakened Valk, and that's just among a few. There are other classes which do really well as well, but those are my top 3 picks. Now, if you're using one of the top classes, you can expect anywhere from 600 mil an hour to 1 bill an hour, but 1 bill is really tough to hit. You have to hit the maximum amount of trash loot, you have to have maximum drop rate, and yeah, it's really difficult to stack it all the way up to the max, but it is possible. It's not unheard of, but realistically, you're looking at 600 to 700 mil an hour comfortably, even if you don't have everything maxed out and if you're not tryharding. But overall, Centaurs is a phenomenal spot. This can carry you very well into the late game, but that is with Agris. Without Agris, there are other spots you want to consider. So as I mentioned, the alternatives at around full Tuvala is going to be Sulfur Mine and Pilikud Jail. These 3 spots can carry you really far into mid-game. Mid-game is anything after full Tuvala, and the general grind spots that I'd like to make note of is 1, Tortuga is an excellent spot. After you have full Tuvala, you can start grinding here. But I would only grind here while you're looking for your artifacts. But otherwise, in terms of money overall, places like Centaurs is better. So I really wouldn't recommend going there after you get your artifacts. Then at around 272 AP, you can start grinding stars and super efficiently. I think that's when you can start doing the regular rotations like Cliff, main rotation, or Temple, and be really efficient with it. You can start sooner. Like personally, I was grinding Stars End from all the way to 245 AP way back before reboots and stuff. So certainly you can grind here much sooner. I'm just talking about when things get super efficient at the primary rotations. Stars End has been passively buffed over the past couple of years. Just in general, like Cafro drop rate increases and yada yada yada. But overall, I think you can expect a consistent 300 to 500 mil an hour over here. Depends on what kind of buffs you're running. If you're grinding on Arsha, if you have a lot of drop rate bonus, but that's up to you, how much you invest into your account. But it is a solid place to grind, and a lot of people still grind there. Now, at 272 AP at 331 DP, that's when I started grinding at Sakraya. Sakraya is a cracked spot because this is one of the normal spots that were predating Elvia, but still kept up in terms of money per hour. It is not unheard of to get over 500-600 mil an hour. The reason why this place scaled so much is once after the reboots came through, we got super strong and every class's trash per hour went up significantly. The amount of Kafras that drop here went up, and the price of Frenzy Draft went through the roof. Sometimes it even hits like max price, and that alone carries it. Getting those Abyssal Essence and turning it into Frenzy Drafts is so good over here, and it's something that you should definitely do if you're going to grind here. This is such a comfy spot to grind at, and I personally enjoy it a lot. Now, Sakraya, Centaurs, and any other spots that I mentioned, these can carry you all the way to over 281 AP. Now at 281, I was actually grinding at Orcs, but honestly, in terms of efficiency, I'd say wait until like you're closer to 289 or 290 AP, around that region, because you start getting much more efficient in terms of money per hour, you'll start reaching the upper limits of it. Ore camp is a phenomenal spot. It is one of my favorite grind spots because it's so close to town. It's just right next to Idle, and it's so easy to get to. You're not traveling to the far reaches of BDO to get to some awesome grind spots. So that's why I really like Elvia, Serendia. And at around 289 AP and anywhere from 345 to 370 DP, you can start grinding here and Bloody Monastery quite comfortably. 345 is really low and you can get like clapped hard. But that's when I started grinding as a striker. Striker is just a lot tankier than most classes. So him at 345 was like other classes at 365. It's definitely a night and day difference. You can expect around 500 to 800 mil an hour here. Grinding efficiently. My striker definitely hit that 800 mil an hour mark many a times, and this is just a great place to grind. And definitely get all of your cups for your accessories grinding here. Those are your main goals, and after you're done with that, you can still focus on grinding just purely for money. But in addition, around that same AP range, I like to go to Jade Starlight Forest. It was a pretty comfortable grind down here. Just going through the Marnie realm every day and just grinding with Agris, doing the daily quests nearby, because those will give you a solid amount of Kafras. So overall, combine the daily quest, grinding with Agris, because you can grind for a whole hour with Agris here. It's a really good Agris spot. And yeah, with a blue loot scroll, I was making about 700 mil an hour. Now I can't do that 4 hours a day because I'm relying on the dailies and all that stuff, but it was a solid grind. It was a very comfortable grind, and I definitely recommend you grind here for the Labresca helmet, after which you can just revert to any of those spots I mentioned previously just for money making. The most important thing is going to be where your class really shines, where you feel comfortable grinding, where you can get to pretty quickly. If you leave your character at the grind spot or near there, that's fine. But yeah, I think those are going to be the main things to keep in mind in mid game. And then once you're past that 295 AP mark, I think you're considered at the very early stages of late game. So once you're in the late game, you can still grind all of those spots I mentioned, but there are other spots which make even more money. Now, for moderate amount of money but an insane amount of XP, Gyphon Razia Underground is so good. It is just such a nice spot. It's not a massive rotation or anything. You're in one spot and it's just a comfortable grind. Only thing is the mobs do hit quite hard, so you have to be on a tanky class or have at least 370 DP. So just be careful with that. You can expect a solid 500 to 700 mil an hour, and in some cases, once you're like really high AP 305 plus, you can start pushing 800 to a bill depending on your RNG. So Gyphon is a really good spot and an excellent spot for gaining XP. So someone like me who's hard stuck at like 63 or something, right? You can definitely make some gains down here, and it's definitely worth grinding here for the XP. And then finally, once you're 300 plus AP or 305, around that region, that's when you can start considering grinding Calpheon Elvia pretty consistently. Now you can grind here sooner. Like I've grinded in Calpheon Hex Sanctuary, on Elvia Hex Sanctuary at 295 AP, but it's just not that efficient. I make more money elsewhere kind of, so you could go there for drops, but I recommend being 300 to 305 AP before you start here. That's when you start making the really good money. Places like Hex Sanctuary and Trolls, they become the best money making grind spots in the game and will carry you on all the way till hard cap. In addition to these two spots, there is one more thing I'd like to mention is grinding for the Merchant Ring. By the time you're at 300 AP, I think you're at the spot where you can consider grinding it. Now, there are some places which are quite difficult. For example, Crypt. Crypt is something that you're going to have to be super careful with when grinding at, because it has a lot of damage coming through. By the time you get all the other pieces, you should have more than enough gear to grind here and actually go for the final piece. Or you can duo it or do some shenanigans, go sea monster hunting or something to get the final piece or trade. There are alternatives, but I think this is a good goal for you to have, and it's something fun for you to work towards. I say fun, I take that back. It's just a really worthwhile goal to work towards, you know? Money, am I right? So So in addition to Crypt, Olin's is an excellent spot if you want to grind with your bros, if you want to go with the boys and, you know, do a grind spot together, play this game like an MMORPG, yeah, in a party. So at the really efficient levels, like early on, you might only make like 500 mil when you first start out. I started off at 295 AP and I was able to take a hit because I was a striker. Otherwise, I'd be one shot. But once you're able to take a hit, once you get good with the rotation, it takes a lot of practice. There's a lot of intricate details and ins and outs that you have to work with the team and really progress with your team, or, you know, join an experienced team already, and things to pick up and learn, because those mechanics make the difference between making an insane amount of trash loot versus, you know, a mediocre amount. What's the point of going in and grinding it as a 3-man group if you can make way more money doing orcs or something, right? So you got to actually play it well. But at the upper limit, I've seen some reports of over 600 to almost a bill an hour once you get really, really efficient and once you're paired with a really cracked group. So it does scale. It does scale. And most importantly, you get the merchant ring piece there. I think that's why everyone grinds there anyway. So keep that in mind. These are the final 2 spots I'd like to mention. But in addition to just the grind spots, there are a few things I need to shout out. If you are looking to be a grinder, if you want grinding to be your main money-making source in BDO, there's a few things you want to keep in mind. You want to max out your family fame. That's really important because at 7,000 family fame, you get 10% drop rate. That's huge. We didn't have that before. And also you get a reduction of 1.5% market tax. That's also really nice. That adds up over time. And lastly, in terms of drop rate, you want to make sure you have your ecology maxed out, getting all the way up to 10k or close to it if you can. At 6,000 you get 20%, as you can see here. I haven't really grinded in too long of a time. It's just not what I do anymore, so I haven't really pushed it, but I will in the future if I do switch back. And finally, make sure you invest in consumables. Like having the best drafts, it's really important. Like doing elixir rotations at the very high-end spots, that makes a lot of difference. That really increases your money per hour. You don't want to waste these at earlier levels. It really won't make much of a difference doing it at Star's End or something, but once you're at Ash Forest or something, when you're going for the merchant ring, it's important to build up your supply stock of the elixirs. So elixirs are always going to be pretty much bought out because they're in such high demand, as you can see these pre-orders. So you might want to progress your alchemy and make your own or something. But do keep this in mind. This doesn't have to be something you jump on right away. But when you're going towards the late game, you will want to start building up a stockpile. So when you're grinding, you want to use the best consumables you can without wasting too much money. Some of these elixirs are quite expensive, so, you know, try using the best meal that is simple, cron meal, or exquisite, depending on what you're going for. And always try to grind with like a frenzy draft if you can survive at the spot and such. So just those little things do add up. And using your best perfume and stuff, those all carry some weight. It's about min-maxing. Once you do something 100 hours, then you get pretty good at that spot, right? These little additional buffs make a big difference over the span of 100 hours, 1,000 hours. Like getting to max gear, it takes that long. So just keep it in mind, work at it. It is a progressive game, so you don't have to do all of it at the same time at once, right off the bat. But over time, try to get there. All right, now let's move on to the life skilling portion. The first thing you think of when you hear life skilling is probably gathering. Now there are 2 active life skills which make you money in BDO, that is gathering and hunting. There are other life skills involved, but their money per hour is significantly lower nowadays, and they definitely need a buff, especially trading, which is due a rework and they still haven't put it out. And bartering definitely needs to have a significant increase in money per barter refresh. I think bartering needs to literally be quadrupled in the amount of money, because you spend about 3 to 4 hours completing all your refreshes generally, and that's without any stockpile. So in 3 to 4 hours to earn like 2 bill, I think that'd be worth it. But right now, as it stands, it's like 500 to 700 mil, 800 mil, depending on your RNG. So bartering really isn't worth the time anymore. It used to be 2 years ago, but at the moment, everything else has left it behind. Now, I'm not going to teach you guys exactly how to gather or hunt. I have a very in-depth hunting guide. It'll be linked in the description down below, so you can definitely refer to that when I talk about hunting. But in this section, I'm just going to go over all the top money makers that are notable to me. And these might vary depending on your region, because life skilling is something that is very region dependent in terms of the prices, because some servers have a lot more life skillers and that is much more of the meta than other servers. So just keep that in mind. When it comes to gathering, there are several things you can gather for money. My two favorite things to gather are, first, lions. They are really chill to grind and gather. They're really nice in terms of money per hour. At 2k, it maxes out at around 500 mil an hour. You get a little bit more if you were to use Agris, but honestly, Agris for gathering is definitely less efficient than using it for grinding. You only use Agris if you are not going to grind. If you're like me and you never grind anymore. So only in those scenarios you want to use your Agris, but lion meat is really good. And then my other favorite thing to do is definitely scorpion and snake meat. They're right south of Shira ruins right here, and it's a really chill rotation, very little competition here. And with both of these spots, lion and snake and scorpion meat, you can cook really good sub meals and sell them directly, or you can use them for Valencia. But right now, as it stands, it's really not worth going all the way unless you're really cracked mastery that is nearly max. So in terms of money per hour, yeah, lions is probably going to be the best in terms of raw silver, but you never want to sell the meat directly to the market. When you look at the market, you'll see that there are so many pre-orders on lion meat, snake meat, scorpion meat, and that means people are willing to pay the max price on the marketplace to buy these. The reason being is they can just buy it, cook it into sub meals, and sell it immediately, and they sell for a lot of profit. If you go to BDO Lytics and you put in lion meat and put in your mastery and stuff, it goes all the way from like, for me personally, with near 1800 mastery or so, it's like 1.8 bill an hour. So obviously getting that much lion meat to cook for an hour, it takes time. You're not going to be directly translating 1 hour of gathering to 1 hour of cooking, but this is something definitely you should know. When you're life skilling, don't just sell your raw materials. This guide is about maximizing how much money you're making, right? This is a money making guide, so I'm going to tell you exactly what to do. You want to get your raw materials, whether you gather them or pre-order them over time. It doesn't matter how you get them, but after you get them, you definitely want to cook them. You want to build up your cooking mastery to a point where you're making good profit off it. Otherwise, stockpile it. But you can just sell it directly to the marketplace if you really can't be bothered, but I highly recommend you don't. That goes for all gathering, that goes for hunting when we go over that section. But overall, if you want just raw silver, then you might as well go grind, because the amount of mastery you need to be making that 500 plus mil an hour from just gathering and selling the raw materials, you need like 2k mastery. That's max mastery for gathering in order to get there. You can get that kind of money from grinding in way less time than it takes you to get 2k mastery. Understand? So if you are going to go gathering, definitely cook those meals. If you get materials, if you get them from life skilling, you want to either cook or do alchemy and then sell them. Always note, if you see an item at max price, then understand they are in high demand because they make people more money. They're not sitting there just for charity. Buying these fruits, you can turn it into a lot more money. So similarly, all meat. If you see it at max price, be warned. Now, another spot I like to gather quite often is pilgrims. So over here, you can get a lot of rough stone. Rough stone's really nice because you can use it for alchemy to make metal solvents, and metal solvent with decent mastery can be like almost 700 mil an hour with alchemy. I believe once you get a high mastery, like almost 2k mastery with gathering, it translates to about 1 hour of gathering to 1 hour of alchemy. So that's good. But generally, I use my rough stone to make my own utensils. I set up workshops and I start crafting my own alchemy tools and cooking utensils, because those are usually on pre-order. They recently raised the prices for cooking utensils and alchemy tools, so that's good. They finally did that, but they're still on high pre-orders usually. So now that it's died out, it's a lot easier to get your pre-orders. So if you are looking to sell them, to make workshops and sell these, you can, but it's really not that great of money in terms of profit. Like, to make a advanced cooking utensil, making your own, you save like maybe 200k silver, so you're not really profiting a huge amount. And there are other ways to turn that rough stone into cash as well. So I really wouldn't bother with this for money. I would just make your own supply. But pilgrims is essential in order to supply your rough stone for those utensils if you're going the life skilling route. Now, along with that, you'll probably be cutting trees in order to get some logs. So usually I run around Ash Forest to do that. And I purely do it just to fund those utensils and cooking and alchemy tools. So just keep that in mind. There are a few other additional steps to just making money if you're trying to do alchemy and cooking. But the game does give you a lot of these utensils and stuff. It's really not that difficult to get. For example, with like Imperial cooking seals, 500 of these will get you a Supreme cooking utensil. So that's like, for me, it's like one every couple days, a little more than a couple days. So it's really easy to stack those up and get those as well. Next up is hunting. As of this year, early in 2022, hunting got buffed to a point where it became the highest moneymaker for life skilling. Now, that's not to compare with like cooking or alchemy. I know those numbers can get much higher, but how are you going to fund those items without doing gathering or hunting, right? So you can realistically just compare like gathering to hunting and then compare alchemy and cooking if you really wanted to compare anything. But for gathering wise, the amount of meat you get is significantly less than hunting. If you want to get red meat, you go hunt verdure deer and you're making way more red meat per hour than you would with gathering. And that's not all. You also get blood and hide in a 1-to-1 ratio. The hide isn't that valuable, but deer blood is quite valuable. You can use it for dark pudding and you can sell it directly to the marketplace for a little extra silver. Usually you'd want to keep an eye on the fluctuation of the prices, but my top picks for hunting is going to be verdure deer, which is really good, shadow lions, which is a good combination of money and XP, and then the frost wolves, which are located here near the Shrine of Silent Prayers. There are bears as well. I think frost bears or whatever they're called, trickled in here. So you want to kill all of those, and deer and that are probably going to be the highest money makers depending on your mastery. So for example, at 1200 mastery at verdure deer, I was making about 400 to 500 mil an hour, and 1200 mastery is pretty easy to hit. With 1500 mastery, I was making solid 600 mil an hour, and at like 1700 to 1800 mastery, I was making well over 700 to 750 mil an hour, sometimes higher, depends on RNG, but on average around that. So all in all, how you want to compare whether you should be doing gathering and hunting versus grinding is the amount of effort it takes. I think gathering is the least amount of effort in terms of your intensity and your keyboard inputs, then hunting, and then both of those are significantly less than grinding. So depending on how much effort you want to put in for your time, you'll be rewarded accordingly. So choose what you want to do, choose how you want to spend your time, how sweaty you want to play the game. Now guys, definitely check out my hunting guide. The links are in the description down below. They're split into 3 parts. The first teaches you all the basics, the second teaches you how to level, and the third teaches you how to make money with hunting. Those guides will carry you all the way through your hunting journey, and it explains a lot of the things that I talk about here. How to make money by hunting. It's not just hunting, but you have to transform that material using 0 time. That means time you're not playing the game, to cook and then maximize your income. You could just translate your one hour of hunting into silver and just directly sell your stuff to the market, but then you're not truly being a life skiller, you're more of a grinder, right? Why go that route and hunt while you could just grind and make way more money than hunting? So definitely check those out. These methods I talk about in this section, these are my ways that I make money while life skilling actively. There are other ways. I know there is trading that still exists even now. I know they didn't get the rework yet and we're still waiting on that, but I really don't recommend it because there's a lot that goes into it and a lot of knowledge you need and effort you have to put in, and it's over a large period of time. And I think just doing these methods that I mentioned right here could out earn that in the long term. All right, now let's talk about the passive money making. I made a separate video on this going over how I make 500 mil an hour. Realistically, it's actually 700 mil an hour minus about 200 mil in loss because it takes material and time to make my Imperial boxes that I churn in. But if you combine all of those, that's a pretty good amount of income. That's almost 15 bill a month. So that's not money you can just ignore, right? So passive incomes are really great for people who don't want to play intensely. Like you don't want to log in and grind for 3 hours a day. I used to do that. It wore me out. Trust me. If this was 10 years ago, I could grind 10 hours a day and not be phased, but time has changed. So have I. So let's talk about passive income. There are multiple ways you can utilize your life life skills to make passive income. And the most notable ones I went through in the video I made recently. I'll put that in the link in the description down below as well. But let's just go over these in a higher level. So first, obviously, is going to be cooking. You can AFK cook for hours, and by AFK cooking, you can make a lot of money. This is not going to be money that's like $1 billion an hour or something, but it's like 100 mil an hour, 200 mil an hour. And that adds up because you're not putting in any effort. You just have to set up your character every 15 minutes or 30 minutes, depending on what your cooking speed is. And that's just money that just keeps coming in. Only thing is you have to supply yourself the cooking utensils. How you do that is up to you, whether you have your own workshops or you're only relying on pre-orders, or doing your cooking daily and saving those up, and doing your imperial cooking turn-ins and saving those seals up to turn in for supremes, whatever. But there is a cost to it, that is the cooking utensils and such, but the amount of money you get from it is much more. Now let me show you how to calculate this. So on screen, we have the website BDO. What you want to do is you want to log in here, and you can use multiple tools here. The most common tools I use is the cooking and alchemy ones. So for cooking, here's how it works. If you're looking to see what makes you the most money by market cooking, that means you buy all the mats off the marketplace, or you can substitute some of them for things you've gathered or hunted. But you go over to market cooking here, and this will show you a big list of everything. So now let's start filtering this out. Let's say we're looking for the most money per hour. You'll see these obscure meals which are very difficult to gather materials for and have insane bottlenecks. For example, King of Jungle Hamburg, that is a lot of money per hour, but you have to get the line meat. In order to cook for 1 hour with a King of the Jungle Hamburg, cooking at a speed of, let's say, 2.1 seconds per cook, then it'll take you you'll need about 53,000 line meat. In an hour, you're gathering about 12 to 13,000 or 15,000, whatever your number is. And that's a lot of hours in order to get to this point. So this isn't the true value of cooking, because there's a lot of time that goes into gathering these materials. And of course, there's the other stuff too, pickled veggies, which are easy to do, tough bread, pretty easy. But all in all, it does take time. So whenever you come into BDO, the first thing you want to do is do your settings, put in all your information, your weight, unused weight in your inventory, your masteries, your cooking masteries for slow cooking and speed cooking, that is with silver embroidered clothes. And make sure you change this if you have those 10-hour buffs that are coming out with events and stuff, which give you like -1 second cook speed and stuff. So all that goes into it. But all in all, this is how you calculate how much money you make per hour by using BDO. But now let's say you want to do AFK cooking. So a lot of time you'll be cooking easy to make meals, like for example, pickled veggies. So these are really easy to make because it takes very little effort to get these mats. So for example, paprika, you get it from the NPC. Now vinegar, you can make very easily yourself, and leaving agents, sugar, you get from NPC. Vinegar, pickled veggies, essence of liquor, these are things that I like to cook AFK, and they don't give you much money itself. Like the amount of money I'm getting from like 100,000 pickled veggies, it's not a lot from the pickled veggies itself. It's also the rare procs and the butter, which comes from the byproduct. So you get the witch's delicacy, and you can change it to whatever you want to make it as. So if you say you keep it as witch's delicacy, you're going to see you're not going to be making much money at all, because you're missing out on a huge portion of that income. But if you were to say you're going to turn it into milk and sell it, this is how much money you get. If you turn it into butter and sell it, this is how much money you get. So that's all 0 time. So whenever you're going AFK, you can set your character to be processing, but this will give you an estimate of how much money you can be making per hour. It's not much. Like this is like 10 minutes of grinding for some people, right? So it's not much at all. So the advantage of this is you can keep this going for so long if you're just at home and you're not playing the game, and it's just 0 time. That means you're not spending the time doing anything in game, but your character's out there making money. So there's essence of liquor, which is pretty easy to make, and vinegar, which is really easy to make as well. So these are really small sums of money, but they add up over time. And this is something you really want to take advantage of if you're trying to level up your contribution points or your cooking. And it's just something that keeps the money ticking along when you're not actually playing the game. Now, it's pretty sweaty to be constantly managing all of the things that are going on, but this still does make you good money in the long run. So you have to decide how you want to play. It's up to you. This is your game. This is your journey. You decide how you spend your time, how you spend your effort. If you want to play strategically and do life skills and play with the market by, taking advantage of when the prices drop, you buy and then you cook and then you sell stuff. All these little factors, these fluctuations you see, these are opportunities. Everything fluctuates and it's a pretty quick into fluctuations. You're not waiting 3-4 months for it to fluctuate. These are constantly fluctuating. So look at the price here, 1,200 for wheat versus 1,600 and almost peaking at like 1,650, even higher sometimes. So that is a huge percentage of money you're saving by buying low, then using that to passively cook and then selling all the items you get from it. So these are all small intricate details that play into your passive income when you're trying to cook. Now with alchemy, it's a bit more difficult because it's a really difficult journey to level up alchemy compared to cooking itself. So you're not really out there making the same kind of judgment decisions to constantly do AFK alchemy as it is for AFK cooking. Alchemy, you're gonna have to get the materials through gathering and hunting and then turn it into higher products to make money off it. So how you spend your time, how you spend your resources that you gather, how you build up your storage, that all goes into how much money you're making. So my Odraxia storage, it's a bit light right now because I sold a lot of stuff, but there's still quite a bit of products and materials in there that I'm saving up for the later date. So as a life skiller, you will constantly be thinking about how to build up your storage, how to build up your stockpile. That is really important. For example, you need carbs, right? So if you want potatoes and stuff, you can buy them off the marketplace because they sell them all the time. But look, there are fluctuations here too. You don't want to spend the peak price. You don't want to buy these for like 1,500 when you can buy it for 1,200 or 1,300, right? So this goes for all the mets you see, except for like meat, which are always on pre-order. So like these meat are going to be difficult. You just put in pre-orders and they trickle in over time. You cook with it, you sell them. Now you could be hunting as well and gathering these meat, but it's still worth putting pre-orders up for all of these things because over time that adds up and that is profit. So you want to take advantage of various income of resources in order to progress and make money as a life skiller. So if you're hunting and gathering, that's great. That's your active income. Then you gather resources passively by utilizing worker nodes, by setting up a worker empire to gather all those minute little things like, for example, figs and nutmeg, date palms and all that. Then you're putting up pre-orders that you can use to get those additional income of meat that you might not be gathering that often, like scorpion meat, snake meat, lion meat. So all of those tie in together in order to make you income over time by life skilling. So guys, I will say putting up pre-orders and buying resources off the marketplace, that is also passive income, right? So there's a lot of meat which are going to be on pre-order. You see these zeros, you can be putting up pre-orders for all of them, constantly refreshing those, and use BDO Lytics always to understand which is going to make you money and which will not. And always double check and do your math. That is really important in BDO. Whether you're enhancing, whether you're doing life skills, be cognizant of prices, be cognizant of the economics behind it, the fluctuations, what are bottleneck resources and all that. It all ties into it. By taking these into account, that passively affects your income. Now let's talk about the actual passive income method. So for example, in my previous passive income guide, I go over what I do with fishing. Fishing is really good. I have an alt character which I have specifically to fish, and I have her parked over at Valia right now because most recently we had an event where we made a lot of passive income by fishing, and really take advantage of those events, like those koi events with the Termian festivals or whatever they're called. Those are really nice. Similar events come through like every other month or every few months, and you want to have a fisher ready and be able to take advantage of that. Even if the fishing events aren't around, I still make a decent amount of money overnight by fishing if I leave my computer on. I know it costs electricity to keep your computer on, but I usually do for other reasons, so it's not that big of a deal for me. You do you. I personally wish we didn't have to. I wish that our character kept fishing even if we logged off. I wish our worker nodes kept going on even if we logged off, but that's not the case. I did put in a suggestion. I doubt it's ever going to take place, but you know. Anyway, so in terms of fishing, you want to be fishing and then turning in those fishes to an imperial fish turn in. So by traveling to a greater distance, you make a lot more money from doing it, or you can be lazy like me and just run over to, like, say, the imperial fishing vendor right here in Valia, or run over to Glish if that's full, and whatever you can do, it's still money in the bank. Now, fishing is definitely not the most amount of passive income you can get by AFK activities. Obviously there's cooking and alchemy, right? But there is another. There is training. Training is actually pretty good now, since the recent reworks for that. It wasn't like a huge amount of changes to it, but you know, now if you're taming horses in around Duvenkroon, they can go all the way up to tier 7. They've revamped the loot from turning in the imperial seals for training, which really increased the passive income. So I can't give you a real accurate estimate, but it's definitely more than fishing. Some people told me they're making over 100 mil a day just by AFK training. But overall, training is a good AFK method to make money. A lot of people you'll see in Duvenkroon AFKing on wagons with 4 horses running through here. That's what they're doing. Duvenkroon is going to be the best place to do that, because in Drigan there are multiple places with really good horse spawns, which can get you really decent tier horses. So definitely check that out. Next up is going to be farming. Farming is amazing. They recently revamped it a bit, so now we're making a lot more money than before. Before I used to make like 100 mil a day, and I'm like, damn, that's nice. But now it's like closer to 200 mil a day if I can hit 5 farm runs every day. So it is a bit tedious to do that. I know it is sweaty to come here back to the computer every 4.5 hours to do that. But if you are able to, you can make good money. Like every run averages about 30 to 40 mil for me. Some days I only do 2 runs. Some days I'll do all 5. It's just pretty much up to me in terms of how much I feel like playing. But it is a good amount of money. For example, if I'm doing magic hot peppers, they take 10 slots per plant. So in each plot on each large fence, I'm putting only 1 plant in. So it takes a lot less time for me to manage these crops than it would if I was planting, you know, 10 crops in a plot, or if I'm planting 2 in a plot. When I'm doing magic hot peppers, the only reason I do this, I'll go on record saying it's because I'm lazy. There are other things which are much better to do, which are much faster growing than hot peppers, but this is purely out of laziness. It takes me 1 minute to do a farm run. That is, come here and breed until I have 10 seeds to replenish my stock, and then I harvest the rest and sell it if I want, or I stockpile. Honestly, I do a lot of cooking, so I stockpile everything, but I do count it as money earned because they're worth a pretty decent sum of money. So it only takes me 1 hour to do a farm run, and I do 4 or 5 a day. That's only 4 to 5 minutes. I'm not kidding. It really is that quick to do it once you understand how it's done and once you get used to doing it. I've been doing it for a year, so literally takes 1 minute. And these magic hot peppers, they do stack up. They do add up in terms of price. Like, look, 85,000 of these here just sitting here, and each of them are worth almost 40,000 silver each. So obviously I'm going to use those for cooking in one way or another, but in terms of raw silver, it's pretty good. They revamped the money you get from the byproducts too. They changed them, so now you're only getting 1 byproduct item called the blush leaf. You turn 20 of these in for stonetail powder. Those add up. You get a lot more fruits from farming now. These mysterious seeds give you a lot of fruits by utilizing them. So these are used for targeting fruits in a focused manner. So you can, if you want a specific fruit, you can definitely get those a lot easier than we used to be able to. As you can see, I have close to 700 plus of these, so that's like almost 14-15 bill worth of fruits just sitting there. I'm just lazy. I'll use them someday. But overall, farming, solid way to make income. Very little effort for high reward. All right, now next one, let's talk about processing. Now this is something I don't do enough. I have a lot of mats just stored up and I really need to start doing it. I just been putting it off, but it's something that is really easy to do. You definitely want to have the the outfit for it from the cash shop if you're going to do it on a long-term basis. That is a Venesil costume. It allows you to process things directly from your storage instead of having them in your inventory. It makes it a lot easier. I'm sorry, it's pay to win. It is what it is. You know what game you're playing. But overall, processing is not something you do directly to make income. It's not an income making method unless you're turning witch's delicacy into milk, into butter, or something like that. Generally, what you do processing for is to use up your zero time to make intermediary materials. So for example, if you need flour or dough and buying them directly off the marketplace isn't an option. Now, I'm just using this as an example, guys, but for example, if I'm cooking something which needs that dough, I can use my zero time in order to process it. And in turn, that'll make me money in the long run because now I have the dough to make those meals, right? So all in all, that's the kind of thinking behind processing. It's not something that you do just to like buy things off the marketplace, process and sell for profit. Once upon a time, there was a scope for that, but mass processing definitely took care of that. So that market doesn't exist anymore, but it's something that supports your other life skills. That is processing for alchemy or cooking. And that allows you to make more complex things instead of having to buy them directly, or you can buy the mats cheap. And if you have good mastery, it's saving you a little bit of money. Only a little bit. It's not much, but you know, it is what it is. It's not the best, but it does have a place in the game. All right, now for the worker empire. So one of the most notable ways to passively make income is definitely a worker empire. In the higher ends of your empires, you can be making over 100 mil a day, no problem. There are plenty of nodes which give you a good amount of income and plenty which are quite valuable. Like, for example, I get a lot of cards. I get a lot of fish from doing this because some of my meals definitely need fish. And how am I going to get it? Other than worker nodes, I have to buy it off the marketplace. There's no other way for me to get it. There are things like nutmegs, which are bottlenecked by the worker nodes and stuff. And there are things which are really useful like date palm because that's really good XP for cooking. So all those things are gathered from worker nodes, and you can easily buy things from nodes by putting in pre-orders and just buying them off the marketplace. But this is something that's pretty passive. This is probably the truest form of passive income in the game because all you have to do is feed your workers, and it's pretty easy to get the food to feed them. I have an old guide which I made about building a worker empire. It's still valid. You can check it out. I'll put the link in the description. Now, just a few notes to that guide. It was a long time ago. I was probably less than 6 months into the game when I made it. So feed your workers grilled bird meat. They're more efficient than beer. Since that time, a lot of new things were added. For example, back then, we didn't have Drigan, Odraxia, probably. I think we might have had Drigan, but we didn't have Odraxia for sure. And we didn't have Mountain of Eternal Winter at the time. There are a few useful nodes here, like there's another chicken node, and there's also Thornwood Sap, which is useful for if you're a hunter. There are some nodes around here, but overall you want to make sure you target things that you're going to utilize. It's really not worth doing this just to sell it back to the marketplace. If you're a life skiller, you really want to find things that you're going to utilize yourself. For example, here I have Spirit Leaf. This node, it's so close to the base node of Trent, and it is one of the highest money making nodes in the game from what I heard. Lumberjack's rest area near Trent, super close, and those Spirit Leaves do add up. They're worth quite a bit of money, so definitely pick that one up. But overall, my old guide, it's still valid. Only thing is now the market's changed a bit, so my recommendation, since we make a lot more money per hour than we ever did, is always go for things that you're going to utilize. If you're a grinder, then that's different. Just go for the things that make you the most amount of money per day. There are plenty of spreadsheets and tables out there. I'd recommend following up on the life skill Discord. They have a lot of useful resources that you can utilize to identify those nodes and go for the money per hour. So life skillers focus on getting items that you utilize for life skilling, while grinders focus on just getting whatever the hell makes money and you can sell it directly to the marketplace. All right, guys, now for the last and final section that is miscellaneous in a sense, but it comes down to two things: Gamba and the marketplace. Gamba means gambling. That means enhancing and shenanigans like that. They do make money. Like, there are plenty of people who make money just by enhancing. There are plenty of people who lose their entire bank by trying to just roll the dice and pen roulette or something silly. Don't do that. Be smart about it. If you want to be successful at enhancing, the best thing you could do is probably just watch Biohack or Salt on Twitch and just learn by watching, because there's no secret to it. They're not hiding anything. You could clearly see how they're making their money right there. And you have to be meticulous. Calculate the cost of everything. Calculate the cost of every material you are using, every blackstone, memory fragment, hards and sharps. Wow, they're actually sitting on the market now. Isn't that crazy? Once upon a time, this went on for months, but things like that calculated down to a T. Only then you'll be able to make money in the long run, because when you're enhancing, basically you're like the house in a casino. You're not the guy who's coming in and rolling big and making mad money off luck. What you're going to try to do is play the odds, and eventually you'll have a little better luck succeeding than you do have at failing. That means not enhancing successfully more times than you fail, but within the rate of what breaks even, you're trying to make those odds a little bit better, so you're beating that break even point more times than you're losing to it. And to do that, you have to minimize your costs everywhere. That means how you're obtaining your stacks, how you're building your own stacks. The game gives you so many Valks, like so many stacks that it's just handed to you, and all of those have value. Things like concentrated magical black gems, they take hards, sharps, black gems, black stones, and by adding up all the prices depending on your region, maybe you're getting your own hards and sharps from gathering. Maybe you're getting them from hunting and you want to convert them into cash instead of selling them directly to the marketplace. You could strategically use them to enhance and be very meticulous on the costs and be very careful what kind of odds you're taking and make it out on top at the end. And all of that comes into how you strategically place your resources. If you want to make concentrated magical black gems and you're getting your own hards and sharps, you're going to profit than selling them directly to the marketplace. It's a really easy way to do it. A lot of people buy mats right off the marketplace and go make concentrated magical black gems and sell them and make profit. Of course, you need to be careful when you buy the prices, because if you check everything at max price, and if you're buying all the mats at max price and you're making concentrated magical black gems, chances are you're losing money. You don't want to lose money. You want to make money. So whenever events come out, whenever login rewards come out, you'll see these prices drop. These prices didn't magically drop on their own. They were influenced by outside sources. So if you're an enhancer, you would want to be stockpiling. So if you're someone like Salt or Biohack and you're constantly enhancing and making profit, you'd be waiting for these moments where the prices drop and then you just buy as much as you can because you know the price is going to go back up and profit off it. So at the lowest end, look at this, 1.2 mil. That's insanely low for something that sits at a max price of 1.6. That is a huge percentage, right, of money you're saving. And all of that goes into how you're making money by enhancing it. At the end of the day, whether you're enhancing black stars or boss gears or whatever, it doesn't matter, because what you're looking at is the cost it takes to enhance, the odds of you succeeding that enhancement. If you're going on a roll which gives you 10% chance to succeed, you're going to probably have to enhance it 10 times to break even to be able to hit that odd, right? If the chance of succeeding an enhancement is 10%, then you're going to have to theoretically enhance it 10 times in order to succeed. If you get it before then great. If you get it after, then you're losing money. But the amount of money it takes to actually enhance, repair, and everything that goes into it to allow you to make those 10 enhancements, those are all things you need to calculate and keep in mind. Make your own spreadsheets and do all the boring stuff in order to understand, is it worth enhancing? Now, there's only so much I can tell you because I personally don't do this. I don't like gambling. I don't like that stress, but some people find it very fun. A lot of people play the game for that, and more power to you. I think that's a great way to play the game. That must be very enjoyable for you. That's a lot of dopamine coming in, all right? So nothing wrong in playing like that, but just keep in mind, it takes a lot of meticulous planning. Take advantage of the marketplace fluctuations. Fluctuations are your friend. Understood? Now, let's talk about something that ties into that fluctuation, right? The first part of our final section was Gamba, enhancing. The game gave you so many of those plus 100 stacks. How are you going to use them? That 100 stack has value to it, right? But there's something else that I constantly mentioned throughout this video. That is a fluctuation of prices. Whatever item you're using to life skill or whatever, that item fluctuates in price. Now, one thing you can do, especially if you have a merchant ring, then they play a whole different ball game. Those people are raking in hundreds of billions of money through various methods that us normal players cannot do. But for the most part, what you want to do is take advantage of the fluctuating prices. So for example, look at memory fragments. When they fell down all the way to here versus being sold at a peak price, that is a 400k profit. Because of the tax, even if we bought them at the cheapest point, we probably wouldn't have been able to make money because we lose money from the tax, right? Maybe someone with a merchant ring would have been able to capitalize on it. But there are other things that are more commonly utilized, like for example, sharps and hards, right? When they fell to their lowest peak and then they go back to their highest, that is a huge margin. That is a huge margin that even your tax won't be able to wipe out. So let's actually do the math, the calculator on garmont.com or any other tax calculator to find out if it would be worth it. So here we are at garmont.com. I'm going to go to the central market and we can hit the tax calculator right here. Now let's take a look at sharps. If we're saying we're going to sell something at 3.5 mil a pop, right? And we have a value pack and we have over 7,000 family fame. How much are we losing out on tax? So for selling something at 3.5 mil, we're losing 500k silver. So that gives us 2.9 mil in profit. So when you have that, let's say we were to buy it at 1.9 mil, if we bought it at 2 mil, even with the loss in profit, if we were able to sell it for max price, we're making profit, right? It's money. It's as simple as that. It's calculation. It's difficult to get things for that cheap, but if you can, you make money. And that's just basically the law of economics, right? Buy cheap, sell high. Only problem with BDO is it's not a free economy. It's not a free market and the tax hurts. But things do fluctuate. Take advantage of events. Take advantage of login rewards. You will see fluctuations on the market. If you find an opportunity, don't be like me and make a video about it. Take advantage of it and make mad money. After it's gone, then brag about how much money you made, but you won't tell anyone how you made that money. So all in all, guys, it sounds simple because it is. Either you make profit or you don't. But there is scope for making money in BDO through market fluctuations. I'm not going to go and expose all of those items. I just did the most simple and straightforward items for now, but there are other items that you can take advantage of. Now, the real thing is when you combine those market fluctuations, not just to sell it right back for a little quick cash, but when you take advantage of it through life skilling, when you take advantage of it through enhancing, that's when you truly make big money in BDO. So everything ties together, and BDO is not something you're supposed to just go dive in hardcore into one aspect of it. If you do, you can play the simple life, but it's when you combine everything together and put it together, that's when you make an overall difference in how much money you're making per hour. It's not about just brute forcing. It's about how you want to play the game. It's about building yourself a system. That's what I did recently. I decided I wanted to make 3 bill a day. How am I going to do it? Well, there's a lot of aspects that go into it. I do active life skilling. I get passive income. I do AFK methods like cooking. All of those things combined together, plus a few other shenanigans I do that I keep to myself, all of those combined together gives me over 2 to 3 bill a day. Am I putting in the same effort of grinding for 2 to 3 hours a day? No, I'm doing a lot less in terms of effort, but I am utilizing my zero time a lot more heavily than other players. There are many different ways to play this game, and these are just a few of the things that you can do to make money in the game. BDO is a journey. People always say that, but you have to remember there is one golden rule to BDO. You spend time, you make money. That's it. That is the most basic rule and the truth of BDO. You want to make it to the end game, you want to make it to 750 gear score or something absurd, you're going to be spending a lot of time. BDO translate time into money. So don't lose sight of real life. Like, I know it sounds silly to say this day and age. I'm sure a lot of you guys are older guys and you know this, but I still have to say, because there are those people who are going to be grinding for 10 hours a day, 12 hours a day, trying to make as much money as they can to get ahead in the game. It's just a game at the end of the day. I'm putting this information out there to enable you guys to more smartly utilize your time and, in a sense, save yourself time IRL. So whatever you take away from this video and this guide, I hope it really does help you guys, and I hope you're able to make smarter decisions IRL and how you're spending your time. BDO is a very complex game, but at the same time, it's quite simple. And that's it for today's video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you found it helpful. Please do like, comment, and subscribe if you did. Check me out at twitch.tv/ImPansy. And finally, once again, big shout out to the sponsor of today's video, Raid Shadow Legends. Check them out in the link in the description down below. Take it easy, guys. I'll catch you guys next time.